Hello, if we haven't met before, my name is James Follett, and I believe the world of Australian wine is beautiful and complex. So I create videos for wine lovers to learn more about the world of wine. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. And on this episode of the 12 Wines of Lockdown number 3, we're talking about the best cheap wines from Dan Murphy's. If you're joining me here tonight, say hi in the chat and let me know what you're drinking. Tonight I'm sipping on a glass of 2018 Tyrrell's Shiraz. A lovely wine from a lovely year. So let's jump straight into the screen share to think about what the best cheap wines are. We'll look at the price tiers according to what's there on the Dan Murphy's website. We might also start thinking about some of the no and low alcohol alternatives, because it looks like they've got a category there for that as well, which is exciting. So I'll just swap over the screen and share now. So Dan Murphy's website, they're a bottle shop. They're an essential service. They're still open during the lockdown. And to go straight for what I'm drinking tonight, the Tyrrell's Shiraz, a classic. I'm hoping it's there. It should be the... doesn't look like they're selling it on there, which I'm finding interesting. So it was just a bottle of Tyrrell's Shiraz. So the old winery has an interesting story when it comes to the old Tyrrell's old winery. Shiraz, that's where the Tyrrell's family started out making their wine, and I think it is part of the site of their cellar door today. I'm not drinking this particular Shiraz, but to give you an idea, I'm drinking a 2018 vintage Shiraz from Tyrrell's. So now let's start thinking about the wines that are available. So if we're looking at wines under $20, we can start jumping into some of these categories to look at wines under $20, as well as you could look at other types of varietals. So going in for some variety with rosé, as well as hoping to go looking for some other interesting snapshots. So let's just dive straight into those shopping. The lighter reds under $20. A quick way of going hunting for something and narrowing down the search is going looking for wines that have received awards for one reason or another. So here we can see 2 award-winning wines, and it's going well. We can also see that as part of the best wine deals, we have different things. I'm hoping there probably won't be anything with the Langton's classification on here at this price point. And the Langton's classification is something I made a video about, which talks about how wines perform on the secondary market, how often they're sold at auction, and the price that they're sold on, as well as the number of vintages that they've had consistently and their performance over time. So it's a great way of seeing and finding wines that have stood the test of time. At the under $20 price point, there's not as much going on. I'd say the bargain probably in here would probably be that Tread Softly Pinot Noir. I'm a bit biased. I think I've had a Moscato from them recently. So I'm hoping that they would be able to do something of similar quality. Thinking about, black cherry, strawberry, licorice, and brown spice characters. These descriptions can help get a sense of if you know what you like, help narrow it down, or you can go looking for something in particular that could match the food that you're hoping to serve it with. And for something that's about $12 a bottle, why not see if you like it, try something new. And if we go across to those fuller red wines, this is probably a category I feel more at home with, more across. I could look straight into here and say, have a look at Shield Estate. Shield Estate, they're a James Halliday rated winery, 5 stars, which means that they're putting out quality wines as well as offer a quality establishment at their cellar door in and around the Barossa Valley. So this looks like it's probably a good value Cabernet from the Barossa. I'm a fan of, I think it was their 2018 Shiraz that Shield Estate have produced. They also produce wines more at the premium end, with that Maruru bottle coming in and close to $200. But then they also produce good value coming in towards that $20 mark. The Shiraz that I was looking for, looks like they've probably updated some of their branding. I don't remember the label previously, although that label wasn't this. When I last looked at the bottle for the Shield Estate Shiraz, but there are something that is going to be flavorful, classic, as the description reads. Go looking for that Barossa style in this wine, and it's also one of those wines that is an award winner. And if we wanted to jump over the category of bubbles, I'm going to jump through via Shandong. Oh, it's going via brand. I was hoping it was just take me to the section where it's talking about sparkling wines. So you might have to go hunting for a bargain, go knowing what you're looking for, set your budget. So if you were going in from 0 to 25 is the range I tend to go for, and apply that, as well as let's go looking for wines that are sparkling. There's one champagne sparkling. What else is in here from the varieties? Sparkling rose wine. Oh, those categories start overlapping. Looks like they've changed out the categories from the last time I checked. Very much heavier focus on red wines. Also probably because I am in the red wine section and I have missed the menus. So there's the red wine, there's the white wine, there's the champagne and sparkling wine, which will help open up these possibilities. So looking at those Decoded Wine Awards for something that they've done in variety categories recently, Bollinger would be more of a premium, Jacob's Creek something more manageable. But we can go into those sparkling wines as well and just look at that whole category. Look for wines that sit in that $0 to $25 price point and see a huge variety of things come up. I'll probably go for, let's go and support Australian wines with this selection that is here and see what is coming up. Now let's narrow that down a little bit further. I can see at least a fair few if we've got the options for 120 and so, and just scrolling through it. I'm hoping maybe what brands are coming up here that are showing. Customs Hill, Cold Stone, Cold Stream, Brown's Brothers. So the other night when I was talking about Australian first families of wine, Brown's Brothers was one of those. It looks like some of their cuvées are sold out at Dan Murphy's. Bim Badgen is something. Oh, did that select? The dangers of live tutorials. Bim Badgen. I'm on their mailing list. This would be an interesting one. So let's go into that one. A sparkling Semillon. So the Hunter Valley is known for its Semillons. Bim Badgen is located in the Hunter Valley region, and they have and are producing a sparkling Semillon that I've just seen is out of stock. So if you can see that, go looking for it if it comes up again. But that would be a unique twist on Semillon that you don't usually see. Coming in under $10 a bottle. So what other wines are out there? So when I think sparkling wine, I often think of sparkling wine from Tasmania. So we're now at that Dakota Wine Awards looking at what is there and available. The De Bortoli prosecco would probably be a winner as well. I might keep that Zonzo Estate Moscato up my sleeve for my wife to try. But if you wanted something that reminds you of champagne for under $30, this Howard Park would be one to try. The method traditional is about the wine making process that mimics champagne, and we can't call it champagne because it's about the region of grapes that are grown in France in the Champagne region. So this would be made according to that method traditional Blanc de Blanc style, which would be similar to the time on yeast. Lees has added creamy lemon curd and subtle water biscuit flavor and texture. A wine rich and full of flavor, balanced by a fine and gently lingering acidity. So that would be something that'd be interesting buy, something interesting to try. I should also start throwing these into a wish list of sorts so I don't lose track of some of these suggestions. So I might just do that now. So I'm in the background logging in to my Dan Murphy's account so I can try and keep track of some of these wines for the future. I might even go in and review some of these to highlight what these best cheap wines from Dan Murphy's are that we're talking about tonight. So, yep, I can add that to a wish list. So I'm excited for that. So I'll create a new wish list here. And we can go back over from the screen recording. So the best cheap wines from Dan Murphy's is now something I can add these wines that I'm looking at. The other one that I called out just then was the Zonzo Estate Moscato, a pink Moscato from the Yarra Valley. It would remind me of a wine that I've had and tasted previously. Bim Badgen did a version of a pink Moscato with that, and I think Tullux did a Moscato with a similar kind of cap to that. Instead of it being corked, it's a sealed cap, and that removes any risk of wine faults as well. So those capped styles with the crown seal, similar to a beer bottle, could be something that is handy for the future. So that was a Moscato, that was a champagne style. Prosecco is also out there round about the traps. So I'll also add that to the list. The Bortoli have a cellar door in the Hunter Valley that I've been to. I think they also have one in and around the Yarra Valley. And this one looks like it's been grown and sourced out of the King Valley in Victoria. So it looks like Prosecco is also well grown in the King River. It comes from the Italian grape, well known there. It's debatable whether or not they have the same claim to fame as champagne with copywriting the name, but in a similar way, it would be made to a method with a variety of different grapes. This Prosecco is coming in at $13.95 per bottle. That's under $20, which sounds like a good deal for easy drinking for some great value. So, and they've got a nice kind of looking label. That's good branding there. It's fun. It kind of reminds you of what it might be going on a boats down the canals in Venice, sipping Prosecco. It gives you certain kind of branding connotations when you have such a nicely done label like that. And then looking at some rosé, I am a sucker for wines from Jacob's Creek, mainly because I proposed to my wife there overlooking a vineyard, which was a memorable experience. It was over a bottle of Dots Moscato, but they produce wines pretty consistently and they're still in a business for a reason because people keep buying them. So this is a rosé coming in under $20 that looks like it's on an online offer, not just what would be in store. So I can add that to the wish list as well. That would be another one to follow up and see how that goes. Something that could be considered for spring, and it has won trophies at the Sydney Royal Wine Show in 2019 for the best rosé, as well as in Queensland, Adelaide, and in the China Wine and Spirits Awards from 2018. And looks like there's some good reviews about it being crisp and dry. Some really interesting reviews with lots of pluses in them. And you can't go wrong with a gorgeous wine. So that's looking pretty positive to see. Got 5 stars. So you can start to see that's a wine under $20 that's available from Dan Murphy's. So looking back at that rosé category, because there's a huge variety of different types of rosés that you can get in different types of wines, which is why I'm conscious, and it can also come from regions all over the place. So looking for things that have come up consistently with awards, narrow that list down. Where you can see some, I suspect, looking at that name, that looks French. We've got some Wira from Mrs. Wrigley. They've won awards for a reason, but nothing stands out to me in terms of brands that I recognize or I'm familiar with. I'll be interested to see what difference it makes to look for like a sweet rosé. If I take off that filter and I look just for a sweet rosé, I can, ooh. So those 3 look like they're out of stock. For this spectral sweet light bodied style of rosé, the alcohol content is on the lighter style. Al fresco meals or just refreshing drink by itself. It's a rosé from Portugal. Let's try and support Australian here. The Gallo family vineyard, California. The Gallo family of wines are infamous. One of the largest wine producers in America. I listened to a Business Ward podcast series about the Gallo family, a very interesting and infamous history, but it has helped put them in a prominent place in the American wine industry. So let's go back and see if I can find within the wine. What can I find within that category that is dessert wine and Moscato? For those sweeter styles of wine, I do this one especially because I know how much my wife loves Moscato. She will go and avoid Brown's Brothers. Brown's Brothers was a Moscato I started on with my family, so I'm a bit biased there. Here was the Tread Softly Moscato that I referred to earlier. When we were looking at the Tread Softly Pinot Noir, they have just such a lovely capsule on the top there. Floral, such a subtle beauty in their label with the way they've got that lady beetle on there and a Moscato. Makes you look. And it's coming in at a nice and light and breezy, easy 6% alcohol volume, which is good for respecting the Australian guidelines that we were talking about. So if you're just joining in and tuning in and watching, we're talking about the best cheap wines you can get from Dan Murphy's and what's available and what's out there. We might finish up on some expensive wines, looking for things that are value buys towards the end as we approach closer to 45-minute mark. Let's go through the kind of sweet white wines and back into some of the red wines, because that's my happy place. I'll finish up on the red wines because that's where I'm most familiar. So we have this Tread Softly Moscato. That is one I've tasted and enjoyed with my wife. Close out of the Gallo, close out of the Petit Rosé. If that is the case, it's reconnected now. So that's all good. So looking at the Halliday ratings, that talks about wineries that are able to produce wines rated at 95 points above for the previous 2 years. So that is something good to be on the lookout for when you're looking for valued wines. And we saw that, I think, at Shield Estate when we were looking there. But let's go back looking for those wines that were white wines in the Moscato category, or the Moscato grape variety. Looking here, you can also get the lightly spritzed canned wine. Canned wine is a trend that is up and coming, helps you manage the portion sizes better and control that. I'm going to go back and go looking for that $0 to $25 range. Stamp of Australia Moscato. That's an interesting one. I'm pulling this one out just because I'm not used to seeing 1 litre bottles sold on shelves. So that could be an interesting one for a future video. As I go off on a little tangent, Hardy's Wines is also a brand name that I've heard of before, which is why I got distracted by that along the way. Innocent Bystander look to be innovative, doing kind of beer bottle style with a crown seal here. Brown's Brothers are putting Rosé Moscato spritzers in a can. So there's some interesting stuff going on nowadays, innovative in the beverage industry, as people look at ways they can package different types of wine. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to find a sweet Moscato. I haven't, oh, that's sold out, so let's not talk about that one. Tread Softly has come up again as a sweet style. Do they have any wines that are well awarded? What's coming in at top 5? Yes, I'll jump into this one. This is a lovely Moscato. I can recommend this one. I've tasted it, I have cut it, and tried to make wine candles out of it. It's a lovely shaped bottle, and it's a delicious Moscato on the lighter side and the lighter end of the spectrum, and it's coming in at under $20 a bottle for that Moscato category if you're into sweet wines. And it was a place that I started, and I've since kind of moved on through to coffee and red wines, which can be dangerous because the red wines end up to be pricier with the time, expense, effort, and branding that goes into making them. So here we are looking at the Browns Brothers Rosé Moscato Spritz. I have no idea about this one. I'm saving it as a curiosity. I want to come back and learn more about it. But we'll just kind of jump over that one. So the dessert wines tend to be wines you finish on last and end with. They're so sweet, they're overpowering. I think I just sent off some late harvest Semillon from Broken Wood, 6 bottles of that to go on auction because I mixed up Semillon and late harvest Semillon, which was a dessert wine. It was much sweeter. It was a bit overpowering for my tastes, but it was a learning experience. Some days you win, some days you learn. So in terms of, it takes about double the amount of grapes to make a bottle of half the size because it concentrates the sweetness. I think this one would be, it's already been cleared, the Tempest 2 Botrytis Semillon. It'd be interesting to see whether Peter Lehman, it's because it's on the sweeter side of things. I'd say the best buy here would be looking at the Bortoli's Noble One. It keeps coming up in what I can see in the rankings. In here, we're just like, we're in the out of stock section. So we've got a bottle of potentially this vintage as well sitting in the fridge waiting to be opened. A delicious sweet wine, that kind of orange marmalade, syrupy in your mouth. It's quite delicious. It's classified as Langton's Excellent because De Bortoli have been producing this consistently for years at a time. So great dessert wine. If you want to bring that out for dessert, trickle it over some vanilla ice cream and give yourself a delightful sweet experience with this wine to finish off your evening. And now let's kind of go back into that, the territory that I love and enjoy so much. Those red wines. So I'll go by region this time to jump into those and take the gloves off for price. St. Hugo do a great job producing wines of a great caliber. They're next door to Jacob's Creek. They're the more premium placing of these. And what's the most expensive wine I'd buy? I'd probably have gone, let's say, the Barossa Valley, where what's on their list in terms of, let's see how far I can scroll till I find something that I can say that I have in my collection. These are wineries that have the Langtons classified on them much more consistently. As part of it, you'll notice brands coming up consistently over and over again. Penfolds, Grant Burge, Torbeck, Peter Lehman, Elderton. They are renowned for producing wines of caliber that end up in Langton's classified. And Rockford Basket Press is one I'm hearing about more and more. So I'd be looking to hunt one of those down in the future. But in terms of wines, I know I have that can be available from Dan Murphy's. I've had the great fortune. They don't have them. They don't have this one on the website, unfortunately. It was the Langmile Freedom Shiraz, the oldest Shiraz vines in the world. It's classified, Langton's classification, as I think excellent or outstanding. It's thought to be the oldest Shiraz vines in the world because phylloxera came along and destroyed a whole bunch of wines. Phylloxera came along in Europe and destroyed a whole bunch of vines, but we had the vine plantings out here in Australia. So personally, I'm a big fan of Langmile. I have a subscription to them. And yeah, so that's the Freedom, home to the Freedom 1843 Shiraz that's part of that. The Valley Floor Shiraz is one I am a fan of. I'm probably looking at buying 6 bottles of the 2019 release for memories and cellaring. They have a Langmile Solarium program, which is unique, which is you put it in their cellar and they send it to you after 5 years. I also have some Penfolds wines in my collection. So I'd say potentially that bin 389 around the $100 mark is the most some of the more expensive end of wines that I have in my collection. I save up and consider that. I don't necessarily buy that one by 6 or a dozen. It's one bottle at a time, and I'll tend to lean towards something from the cellar release because someone's already done the hard work with storing it and aging it and developing that complexity. But what it means in the example of Penfolds, you can go hunting for some cellar release wines because they're so well known. I think from memory, I want the $25 to $55 range. And unfortunately, what I was looking for was not coming up, but it was deceptive actually. So Grange would be the aspirational wine to purchase and put into my collection. I'm looking forward and persuading my wife to save up for maybe a 2020 Grange if and when it comes out. I'm not sure if it'll come out with the dreadful years of bushfires that happened then, but one to commemorate the year we would be the 2020 Grange to commemorate the year we were married would be a lot of fun, but that'd be saving up $1,000, and those wines are released in 4 years after the vintage, so I'd be expecting that wine to come out in 2024. And Grange is one of the most well-known Australian wines out there. But what I'm looking for here is the Kalimna vineyard to see if I can see anything listed here. For the Kalimna, it was a wine. I know they have it. Yeah, here we go. They don't have it online anymore, but I was able to find the bin 28 Kalimna Shiraz. Let's go hunting for that one in the search section. I was able to find a bottle of the 2013 Kalimna Shiraz in store for a cheaper price than I was able to find the 2018 when I was wandering around the bottle shop, coming in at $40 in the excellent section of the Langton's classification. If you like Shiraz, that could represent great value. It might not necessarily fit that idea of best cheap wines, but coming in here is the excellent Langton's classification at $40, and it has the potential to sell to 2038. That's 20 years of cellaring and potentially even more in the future. And Penfolds have a great reputation. Some might say they're overrated, but I'll leave that up to you to decide. But they're incredibly well financed and incredibly well resourced, and they publish a book called The Rewards of Patience. That is a book that helps catalog how wines drink over time. So I think The Rewards of Patience 8th edition was recently released to document some of the things that are going on there, and it keeps you up to date with a lot of the stuff going on with different Penfolds wines over time from different tastings to see how those wines are progressing decade to decade and developing. So sometimes in a decade's time, they might be able to rate a wine and extend how long they can cellar it for. So the peak drinking might be extended, but as time goes on and people see that wine develop, Penfolds try and produce something pretty consistent. I try and find something that is a little bit more left of field. I like to try and go just hunting. Generally, within some of these categories, I'd go probably more Shiraz Cabernet or Cab Sav. I enjoy the Hunter Valley Shiraz at the moment particularly, and go hunting down for these cellar release wines. So these cellar release wines, the aging has been done for you. So coming in under $20, that Penfolds Cooniger Hill Shiraz Cabernet could be a great deal for you there to see how that wine has developed over time. And the Shiraz Cabernet is an Australian blend that we are well known for. We decided to put Shiraz and Cabernet together to make a wonderful style of wine, and it's blended to a style. It's multi-regional, so it's sourcing grapes all over an area to try and make a style of wine each year. So similar to kind of blending coffee from various parts of the world for like Starbucks to make up their signature roast, it'd be mixing to a style to try and enjoy that and get a sense of what's going on there within the wine. St. Hugo also produce a Cab Sav that is recognized in the Langton's classification. I've got 5 bottles of one of those vintage sitting in my cellar, watching and waiting to see that progress over time. Taylor's is a wine that I'm going to be keeping an eye on and keeping track of over time. They're part of Australians' first families of wines, and I'll be on the hunt for some Jacobs Creek from 2019 at some stage in the near future as well. So as we cover kind of a variety of those wines, let me know, are there any kind of categories of wines you're interested in more me diving in more deeply before I finish up here this evening on wines that are out there to drink? I haven't even touched the category around alternative reds. I've got some Nebbiolo from a boutique producer, Trackless Vineyards, sitting on my wine rack out in the hallway to my left that I'm looking forward to savoring and drinking as well. So these all look like they've come from potentially overseas. So that's, oh, no, there's some Australian in there. Let's narrow that down to the Australians. Buy from Australia. And we can see 2 varieties. It'll be really interesting to see this Yarra Valley Nebbiolo has gone and is coming in under $30 a bottle as well. So that'll be a really interesting one, 2013. That could be a great find. So Nebbiolo is known for its kind of tar and rose, ripe red berries that come through. It's this kind of like Pinot Noir style of wine with a bit of a twist and a kick. Otherwise, I will be looking kind of close out and look at some of those non-alcoholic alternatives as I kind of think forward and prep for the non-alcoholic alternatives episode and see what's out there. I'm already across some of the McWigan Zero. I've seen some of Margling Beer. I didn't know Margie Beer was doing that, but it looks like there's more options out there than I originally expected. I was thinking I was maybe going to get 1 or 2 pages of wines out there. Grab some of Trocken. Out of stock, out of stock, out of stock. I wonder if Maggie Beer has a broader selection. I was going to go hunting for that Ruby Cabernet. That'd be an interesting one. Not necessarily a fan of those Chardonnays. I've actually neglected the Chardonnay category in this wine review. I've neglected actually a lot of those white wine varietals as part of this. So looking at the Decoded Wine Awards, before I finish up on that, there's so many different types of whites in a similar way to so many different types of reds. So I can't necessarily pick one. So looking at that Yarns Tasmanian Cuvée would be one I'd pluck out of the lot right here. Looking at the Decoded Wine Awards, it's a great guide. Sidewood is one I'm familiar with their Shiraz as something that has value. So I'm aware of their reputation. I'm definitely going to add the list of a sparkling cuvee to the wine to keep a track of in the future. Could be a great celebratory beverage for the future. If I can find that out there, keep Sidewood in mind. They come in under that 5 Red Star James Halliday Winery. So that is a good reputation to have. So as before I close out, are there any wine varieties you're interested in hearing more about here this evening as we go exploring what are the best cheap wines from Dan Murphy's? I've tried to keep my list of suggestions here under $25 so that it's something where you're looking for value and accessibility compared to that premium end where wines start to become and feel like they're inaccessible and ridiculously expensive. If there are no other questions here this evening, thank you for tuning in to stream number 3 of 12 as we talk about the 12 wines of lockdown tonight. I was sipping on. Actually, I want to get it up. I want to find the Tyrrell's Shiraz 2018 that I was sipping on here tonight. I want to highlight it because I came across it in my local bottle shop, but it was also something that was well rated in the Halliday's Wine Companion for 2018. So whilst I'm looking up that, let me know if you've got any questions before I finish up in the chat or in the comments, and I might be able to make a video about that in future videos, or I might be able to answer your question in future videos. I think I may have made a mistake. It was 94 points, not 95 points. But looking at this particular Shiraz was what I was sipping on this evening. It came in at $25 when I purchased it, and I was excited about it because it had aging potential to go to 2040 with the balance in it, its composition, the quality of the grapes from that year, as well as I was really excited that it was made in a similar style in those 2,700 litre used casks that represented spectacular value because it was also made in the style of the more expensive VAT 9 Shiraz that would be coming in at 4 times the price. So I was thinking that was representing great value when I considered the 2018 vintage of this compared to the previous wine as well. I have some VAT 9, fortunately, in the cellar. It's a delicious wine to open up on special occasions as well. And if there are no other questions, thank you for watching number 3. Thank you for watching the third wine of lockdown as we do the 12 wines of lockdown live streams. I'll be trying to stream live 8 p.m. every night except for Sunday throughout lockdown here in that greater Sydney region. Let me know in the comments or the chat any questions you have that can be ideas and inspiration for future videos as I try and go live 8 p.m. each night, except Sundays, for the duration of this lockdown as we approach kind of up to the 10th of July. This was video number 3 of 12, the third wine of lockdown as we look at the 12 wine lockdown. And I was looking at the best cheap wines from Dan Murphy's. We'll probably be doing a shorter episode tomorrow night on the best cheap wines for Audi. Hope you enjoyed tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.